Hello everyone. So today we will be talking about different data structures. So what are the things we have learned till now? We have learned about data types, we have learned about loops, we have learned about several different stuff. What were the data types that we learn about? We learned about integer, float, strings, right? Now, these are also known as primitive data types. Now, let me tell you something about data structures. Okay, so the data structures are basically a very basic way to store primitive data in a structured way. So today we will be talking about lists. Okay, so let me just quickly rename this to list.py. Okay, cool. So what is a list? What do you understand by the word list itself? Can you tell me? Like, just think. So, whenever you talk about list, for me, every time I just think about grocery shopping list or maybe any different kinds of ice cream lists. So, what do you understand by this? That I'm talking about a set of similar or some kind of values put in together, right? Exactly. Over here also a sequence of numbers or any other data type stored together is known as a list. Okay, so there are different kinds of data structures: list, tuple, set, dictionary, but right now we will start with the list, and I'll definitely let you know about all of the other one after the in the sequential manner. All right. So first of all, let's see how do we create a list. Okay. So if I talk about creating a list, let me just write down LI. Okay. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Okay. I'm sure you would be able to see this properly. So let me name my list as list 1. Okay. List 1 is equal to, do you see these square brackets? This is how we start writing the list. So let me just quickly write down 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've taken down, I have taken 4 numbers over here. You can just give the spacing better than me. Hopefully that would be much better. All right. So if I just press enter and try print list 1. Okay. So if I try printing this, see, it gives you this. Let me show you something else with this. That is type of the list. Okay. There you go. You have the type. Oopsie. Sorry. And if I run it again, have a look. It says it's a class list, right? So this means that whenever I write down the lists, we have to use the square brackets. All right. Now, this will allocate a large block of memory that can store all the values which we are putting in. Okay. So I showed you how to make the list. Now you see 1, 2, 3, 4. There is something which is known as index. So I'm sure you know about the contents in your book. What do you see? Contents basically have the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter. Before even the first chapter, what do you have? You have some acknowledgement or some stuff, right? Before chapter starts. So exactly over here also, if you try to print these stuff, you would be able to do that. Now, all the sequential data types are actually indexed. That means there is a number associated with each value, which tells us the value comes first in the list, or maybe second in the list, or maybe it comes later, so that we can access the value they store. And always remember, the indexing starts with 0. Okay, I'm sure you might be a little confused what exactly I'm talking about. So let me just try writing something. Print, I'm writing list1, and then again I give this brackets, square brackets, and I'm writing down 0. And I'm just simply running this. Do you see 1 written over there? Let me just quickly just show you. Okay, and instead of 0, I'll write down 1 instead of okay, so accordingly you will be getting 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You see this? Okay, now let me just try writing 4. And this, what do you think this should do? This should give us an error that list index is out of range. We only had 4 values in the list. That's the reason it worked for this 4, but we do not have anything else after that. That is the reason it's saying that I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's just out of my range. Okay, so like this, you can access the elements which is present in the list. Now there is also one more thing that you can do, that is, I'm just putting it over here, that is -1. What do you think this should do? I'm just quickly running it for you. See, it shows 4. That means there is also something known as negative indexing, where you can just go back in the backward manner. If I write -3, can you tell me what would you get? So you got a 2. -1, -2, -3. Right? Cool. So this is the very basic about list. Now, I told you at the beginning that you can store anything. You can store any data type in the list, right? So let me do that. Let me take a list 2 now. Let me take list 2 and let me just quickly, quickly let me just add few string. Python is, okay, let me take different languages name. C++, then I would take C, then I would take Java, then I would take Go, then maybe I can take Ruby. Okay, so these are the different languages. Now let me just quickly print list 2 and I'll just run this over here. So see, what do you get? You get all the elements which is present over here, right? Whatever I have put in. Now, what if I want to see that how many elements are present in my list? For that, there is a function known as len, L-E-N. Okay, length of the list, len, we'll be just using the 3 words over here. So I'll just quickly print len list 2. Okay, so now if I try to run this, see, it's telling me there are 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. So there are 6 elements in my list 2. Just not that, if you want, you could have also, like, let me just paste this, and instead of C++, maybe I can just use this, or maybe I can also use 4.2, and let me, instead of 2, let me make it 3, and let me try running this. This is just to show you that if it works in diversification manner, that is different data types or not. Okay, so now let me just run this code. Have it. It works. That means that you can use any values inside your list. Lists are dynamic in nature. Okay. What do I mean by dynamic? That you can add or remove values from the list. So right now I showed you the length of the list, right? So now let's do few functions on the list and let me show it to you. So let's take list 3 itself and let's add one more thing to this. Okay, so in list 3, list 3 dot append append. What do you want to append? Append my name, maybe Simran. Okay, and if I again print list 3, so let me just run this, have a look. Now my name is here at the end. So by default, when you enter something or append something in the list, it will always go inside at the last position. Okay, now let me just try popping out. That means pop is used to remove the value from the list. Okay, so let me just write down list 3 dot. You see, there are so many things that you can do with the list. Whatever you see, these are the methods that is already there. These are the functions which you can use. But right now, let's write down pop and just let's see what it does. Does it do anything or not? And let me also print the list 3. There you go. So the last element. It took out the last element. If I do this thing once again, it'll take out one time more. See, Ruby. It took out the Ruby. So what's happening over here? It pops out the element. Okay, now it always pops out the last element if you do not write anything. Let's say if I mention this as 1, any idea what will this do? Okay, let's run and see. It works fine and it removed 4. That means if you write down this number over here, it will work as the index. Okay, so if you want to remove any particular element from the list, you can just write down the index of that particular element, or you can also just simply write down pop if you want to remove the last element from the list. By the way, there is also one more method which is known as remove. So let's see what do you mean by remove. So if I write down list 3 dot remove, and let me remove go. Okay, and let me remove go and print list 3 again. Oop, list3. Okay, and let me just run this code. So see, what did it do? It removed go. So if I need to remove it by the word, by the string or anything, you can also do it in this way. Okay, by the way, note that the list can contain more than one same value. If we use remove method, it will only remove one occurrence of it. Like, what do I mean by what I said right now is that, let's say I have Python here as well as I have Python over here. Okay, so oh no, I should have done it over here. Okay, cool, I'm adding it over here. Now if I try to remove Python from here, have a look what happens if I run this code. See, I removed Python in the last go, but still it gives me Python. You know why it gives me Python? Because it will only remove the one occurrence. It won't remove all the occurrence from there. Okay. So now let's proceed with the new method over here in the list, that is insert. It is used to insert an item at the specific index. Now let's say in the beginning I want that in list 3, I'll insert in, and I got insert. The first thing which should be there is the index. So I want it at the first position, and I will insert hello world. Okay, and let me just quickly again print list 3 and run this. Have a look, it has inserted it in the first place. If you wouldn't have written this, if by chance you wouldn't have written this and had run this, see, this insert expected 2 arguments. It takes up 2 arguments, but it has got 1. So that's the reason you need to give the index. Okay. So now the position will be changed since I have made it at the second position. 0 means 1, 1 means 2, because the indexing in the list starts from 0. Remember this. This is very important, that the indexing always starts from 0. Okay, cool. So I'm sure you remember about len. So I can just write down print len list 3, and if I run this, it will just give me the value of how many elements are present in my list. Now there is also something known as max and min. Okay, max basically returns. Okay, let me just take down a list. Okay, this is my list L, and if I want that want the greatest number which is present in the list, what I can do is that I can print max L. Okay, Let's see if it works fine or not. Yes, it does. It's giving me 77. And instead of max, there is also one more function, definitely the opposite. I'm sure you have guessed it till now. That is min, the minimum. That is, yes. So see, it's giving me both value, which is the maximum, and value, that is the minimum. Okay. So these were the different functions, the important ones definitely, which you should know about list. There are a few more things that you need to know about list. Let's cover them one by one. But before that, I would really like you to think about how would we use for loop on the list. What do I mean? So you see this L over here. What I want that whenever I'm printing the values, it should go something like this. 1, 2, 3, 22, 77, 10, like this. So basically, I want you to print it like this. Any idea how would you do that? What is the name over here? It's L, right? So what I'll do, how do we write a loop? I'm sure you can recall it. I'm talking about a for loop. So what I'll do, for, let's take a variable I in, what do we use? We use range. But over here, you see that you already have a particular range defined. You have number of elements fixed inside the L. So that is the reason what you will do over here, you'll simply write down L and you can print I. Okay. And if I run this, have a look. I guess I should write down print. Okay. Yes. Now I can run this. All right. So see, cool. Do you understand? So over here, what's happening? I have a list, and it's just a case. You would be needing this later a lot, but right now, just for your understanding how to use a for loop with the list, I am using this. So what I'm doing, I'm taking a variable. This is a looping variable. In, just because you have a defined length over here, I'm not using the function range. I'm just simply writing down L. Okay. So for I in L, what I'm doing, I'm printing I. So I is the iterable, right? Like you are iterating with I in the whole list. So first it will write 1, then it will write 2, then it will write 3, exactly like how it is doing it over here. Okay. So this is about how you can use a for loop for the list. There are definitely many more things to do with the for loop, but for the timing, you should just play around this thing so that it would be easier for you to understand. Now, I'd really like to give you a small challenge. So after listening to the question, please pause the video because I'll be solving it right now as well. So you remember taking in inputs, right? How do we take inputs? So we can ask the input from the user and make a list as well. That what are the different inputs that I have asked for. Unlikely we were just storing it one thing in the variable, we can now take a whole list from the user. First of all, we need to know all the numbers of the values the user want to insert in the list. Let's say user want that I will insert 5 things in the list. So that is the first thing that you need to know. The question was that how will you accept all the values in a list from the user? pause the video, try it out, and then I'll tell you how to do it as well. Alright. I hope you tried. So let's see. So I was talking to you about how we take in inputs, right? So we can ask for input from the user and make it a list as well, as I said. So first of all, we'll need to know the number of values user wants to enter in the list. So we will ask the number, how many number you want. And after that, we will just put a loop and ask them again and again that many times which the user said. Okay. So let me just quickly demonstrate what I mean. So I'll write down over here user list. User underscore list is equal big. Obviously at the beginning it would be empty because I'm taking it from the user, right? So now I told you what's the first thing, that is how many elements should be there in the list. For that you have to take in an input. So let's say n, and I'm asking int input because definitely number of elements in the list. Okay, number of yearly MENTS in the list. Okay, enter the number of elements in the list. Cool. Now n done. After you have done this, what you need, for I in range. Why is this range used? This is basically used to go till that number and ask in input from the user. So user input is equal to now what do you think? What should be the case? Should it be normal input? Should it be integer input? What do you think should it be? If you write down int input, then it will only take in numbers. Okay, so let's just take int input and enter the value. Enter a value, a number. Okay, so that there is no more confusion. Alright, now after you take the number, definitely you need to store it somewhere, right? Or else what will happen, it will just refresh it once again when it goes inside the for loop and again runs the code, right? So if I write down val, let's not take val, let's stick to this. My name was user list dot append is the function where we can add, right? So we will use this and we will just write down user input. What do we need to append? We need to append the user input whatever we have taken. Now let me just print. What do I need to print? I need to print the list, right? So what's the name of the list? It's user list. So now let me just run this code and let's see if I have done it correctly. Okay, enter the number of elements in the list. Let me enter 5. Enter a number 4, 6, 8, 4, 1 more, 6. See, it took all the numbers and it put it in the list and it is showing in front of you. Right? There are a lot more functions which you can do. I've just shown you a few like append, pop, delete, remove, but there are like n number of functions. So it will definitely altogether all things are not required. You can, whenever you need something, you can definitely search for it, but I have taught you the main things which is required when you what you should know about the lists. Okay, so this is very important again, because this is a very unique thing which you should know, that how to take user input inside the list. So you can just use this list and do many things. All right. All right. So now let me just sign off from lists, because basics of lists I have covered. Next, we would be learning about tuples. Okay. So let's meet in the next section. Till then, play around whatever we have done. And if you have any doubts, you can simply ask. All right. So have a good day.